Welcome to r/malicious compliance, where we share stories of people conforming to the letter, but not the spirit of request. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel, and for so many likes. The first story. Worker at the airport took my empty bottle because it's over 100 milliliters and should be confiscated. The second story. Company forbade its employees to park, so I call security and they accompany me to the building according to company policy. And the first story is, you want my empty water bottle because it's over 100 milliliters? So about 2 months ago, I went to Cuba with my mother. It was an all-inclusive trip, so everything was pretty much provided for by Sunwing. Whenever I travel, I like to bring with me this cute 500 milliliter glass water bottle with this rubber pink casing I got while I was in China. Normally, this bottle wouldn't be an issue. There would be a few odd times when security at the airport would check it to make sure it was empty, because it was clearly over the 100 milliliter maximum. But they would all let us go without a hitch. When we were traveling to Cuba, the bottle was checked and given back to us on our way there, but on the way back is a completely different story. There were tons of people flying out of Veradero, where we were, the same day as us, so there were like 200 people waiting to check in at only 3 check-in counters. When we finally checked in, it had been about 2 hours since we got there. We were pretty tired from standing, so we wanted to get through to the gates as fast as we could, so we took the shortest line in security. There were 2 people working at each bag check area. At ours, there was a lady looking through the screen, displaying the x-ray, and a guy in charge of checking suspicious bags. When we put our bags on the conveyor belt, the lady began gesturing to her partner and I, pointing at her screen. The guy then proceeded to grab my stuff off the belt on the other side and asked us if it was our stuff, to which we replied yes. He carefully shuffled through the bag, but really just went after the water bottle, because that's what I assumed the lady pointed at on the screen. The following dialogue is to my best recollection. Him, is this your water bottle? Me, yes. Him, okay, I'm gonna confiscate this because it's against the rules to bring this on board. Me, but it's empty. Him, yes, but it's over 100 milliliters and that's against the rules. Me, confused, but did not want to make a scene and get kicked out. No, that's for liquids. Him, no, it's for the size of the bottle, and it's glass. Me, but we have this bottle that's also glass. This bottle indicates an 80 milliliter bottle of hot sauce we brought. Him, that's under 100 milliliters, so it's allowed. At this point, I wasn't sure if he didn't know the rules or something, because every time he answered, he sounded very unsure. Me, can I see where it states that I cannot bring an empty bottle over 100 milliliters with me? Him, grabs a nearby plaque that labels prohibited items and points to a wine bottle. Me, but that's not allowed because it's alcohol. Him, no, it's because it's over 100 milliliter glass bottle. His tone at this point indicated that his real intentions were that he wanted my water bottle, because he's really just grabbing arguments out of thin air. Me just trying to test his nerves at this point. So if I had a 100 milliliter glass bottle of alcohol, I could bring it with me? Him, no, because it's alcohol. Me, so is that, referring to the plaque. Him, do you want me to take the cover off the bottle before it's sent to be destroyed? Handing the bottle back to me for me to remove the casing. Keep in mind there was some more bantering back and forth, basically saying the same thing over and over again. I was really peeved at this point. I really liked that water bottle, and it was clear that the only reason he was confiscating the bottle was because he or the lady wanted it. So I took the water bottle from his hands. He gave it willingly for me to take the casing off, but since the only problem he seems to suggest it has is the size of the bottle, I can take everything else. So I stared into his eyes as I removed the lid of the bottle, and handed the rest back to him. His face instantly became red with anger, and he aggressively threw the rest into the disposal bin. I have no use for the cap or the casing, but he now has no use for the bottle, and that's all that matters. Edit. Wow, thanks for all the likes. So I see a lot of comments saying that TSA rules state that bottles over 100 milliliters have to be in checked baggage. That's only for bottles with liquids. As long as it's empty, TSA has no problem with it. Also, I don't believe that TSA is who's in charge in Cuba. Correct me if I'm wrong. So Cuba's rules are slightly different in a sense that they don't allow gels or aerosols regardless of the amount, but everything else is the same. Another thing is that some people were confused as to why I thought the person wanted my bottle, but the tone he was conveying, which is hard to express over text, was that of someone who was making up rules along the way. Many of you also suggested that I should have smashed it on the ground, but I didn't want to seem like I posed a threat to security and get kicked off the flight, haha. This guy didn't exactly know the rules, so he took your bottle. You said either he or the woman wanted the bottle, but why? He was trying to steal OP's unusual drink bottle. Haha, the employees were incompetent. You'd be surprised how incompetent most of the people in charge of your safety are. Leaving Cuba is absolutely the worst. Even worse if you're actually Cuban. The airport workers are angry that you've moved to another country and they haven't, so they check your privilege by going through your bags, stealing things, and inconveniencing you every step of the way. You can always tell a Cuban bag by the way it was wrapped in Saran's 18-foot film. It'll either be too hard to look for, or if they do anyway, at least you'll know right away. I remember one time they confiscated my beautiful package of watercolor paint sets. According to them, prohibited substances may have been packaged with the paints. I'm sure it was saved and passed on to someone. I don't think this is the worst case scenario, since someone in Cuba is painting with good materials. The second story is employee parking. To give a little backstory, I work at a medical facility, and the company is a very large employer in the immediate area. My wife and I both work for this company, albeit at separate locations. I work at the main facility, which is a significantly large campus in the next town over. This is a busy place. It's a large hospital and I work nights. This is all relevant. Night shift and swing shift, or pretty much anyone starting at or after 4 p.m., is allowed to park pretty much anywhere. This is because most of our facilities are shut down and not accessible to patients or visitors. The parking lot most of my coworkers and myself park in is actually next to a series of offices that were recently relocated, so it's even more empty and useless space than usual, especially at night. Out of nowhere, all the employees parking in this area are getting tickets from the company. It's patient parking, and employees must park in employee-designated areas, which are, of course, the gravel pit that's about a 20 to 30-minute walk from the main facility, or the back 40 that are just as far, just on a different side of the campus. Because the weather has been SH, and because I received a compliance warning ticket, I emailed my department manager and said I would be happy to follow the parking policy. So tonight, technically last night, I only just got home, I drive my happy little self to work, and I park a good 20 minutes from the main entrance. Then I called our security team. You see, our facility has in place a policy that any time, literally any of the 24 hours in the day, any patient, visitor, or staff member may call the security office and ask for the courtesy shuttle to pick them up and escort them to any of the facilities on campus. So I did, and I let them know where I was parked, under a marked streetlight, very helpful, and told them I would be waiting for my escort to the main entrance. They came after warning me that I shouldn't rely on them, and I let them know that if it was an issue, they were welcome to provide to me, in writing, a reason why, so I would be able to in turn provide that to my supervisor. And this morning at the end of my shift, I called and asked for someone to meet me at the main entrance, so I could be escorted back to my vehicle. When I was dropped off at my car this morning, I asked if the security officer would be back tonight. We'd been making small talk and I was being a bit of an A. I told him I would be back and would be calling again, if he wanted or needed to pass that on. Again, I was told that security is busy and has other concerns. I told him I would continue to park in the employee parking spaces, but given the unsafe weather conditions, I would be relying on security to escort me to and from the building, per our company's and policy and procedures. I reminded him that any accident on company property, whilst I was either on my way to or out the door from work, is still covered under workman's comp, and let him know I would see him tonight. I'm pretty sure security does have much larger concerns, but until policy is actually set in ink that nights and evenings are exempt from the employee parking rules, I plan on considering to be a compliant little a-hole. Most of my unit is going to just keep parking where they want and ignore the tickets, but I think some of them will start calling for rides, now that they've seen me actually do it. Edit. About the security department. Okay, I understand that I shouldn't be thrilled to take out my ire on people who have nothing to do with the problem, and if that were the case, I wouldn't be so pleased about being an A. The security team has pulled some seriously shady stuff regarding these parking tickets, such as telling some people they can't park in the lot, but allowing others to do so and ticketing them. They've handed out unsigned tickets. They've written the wrong times on tickets, purposefully as they did with mine. I guess some other people have had that happen to them as well. They've come onto our units to fine people and offer up a friendly reminder that they can't park there while they're on the floor, in a medical facility working. This is not okay. Our security team is a third-party company hired by my company, and they have plenty of issues other than this, and a lot of complaints have been lodged against the security company at several of our facilities because of their shoddy behaviors and legitimate, genuine circumstances in which their actions have put people at risk. Most of the security team in my facility thinks the job is a piece of cake because they just tell the nursing staff that they're not staffed to handle problems and let us deal with it. This is an actual thing I've heard several of our security team members say. It is policy that security is to escort any staff, visitor, or patient to and from their vehicles by that individual's request for any reason. Lately, that reason is the weather, but honestly, I work 12-hour shifts. I'm not climbing out of a wet gravel pit, up an ice-covered hill, and then working a 12-hour shift. I'm not doing it. I don't care if that makes me a pampered a-hole. It's an unrealistic expectation for anyone, not just me. Someone commented that expecting night and evening shift to be exempt from parking rules is an entitled attitude. You're not really wrong, except that it really is a safety concern. Most of the reason why it's such a long time to come in from the employee parking areas isn't that it's so far away, it's that it's pretty much uphill in all directions. One parking area is literally a gravel pit set directly downhill from a far side of the main entrance, which is the entrance staff uses. The other is a public street that's on the other side of campus from the main building, so you're leaving the campus. I would say that about 90% of our facilities and offices are closed after 4 or 5 p.m., and the parking policies are in place specifically to cater to patient and visitor parking needs. There are no patients or visitors coming to these facilities or offices, again with the exception of the emergency department, after these hours. We're catering to people who can't even enter the building. I think that expectation is more ridiculous than the idea that 2 of 3 shifts should be able to park in these areas, because we are special little snowflakes. This happens every handful of years. According to some of the staff who've been here for longer than I have, I've been here nearly 4 years, and I've never heard of anyone being ticketed. And eventually the department heads speak with HR, who in turn asks security to knock it off or whatever. Who knows? I did email my department head over this issue, not because I take issue with the policy itself, although I do, but because there are no better policies in place. If this is policy that's going to be enforced, then we just need it made clear. If this is not policy that's going to be enforced, then it also needs to be put in ink to protect staff from this kind of thing happening again. Basically, it's a weird, stupid thing to come into work and have to deal with. We are professional adults working in a hospital setting. We legitimately have larger concerns. Why is this the issue that's being focused on? Also, on that note, it's just a singular parking area being targeted, because multiple other departments park in patient and visitor areas, but have not received any tickets or warnings, which means that it's also targeting a specific department. It's just a mess, really. That's the bottom line. I'm hopeful that I'll hear something definitive by the end of this week, and if and when I do, I'll definitely let everyone know. Edit 2. Well, nothing official has been passed, but I guess security was asked to knock it off per our department management. She's received several tickets and has refused to pay them, and is not so subtly encouraging staff to do the same. So we haven't been told we can, but the consequences have gone away. Haha, so back to business as usual, I guess. Thank you very much for my moment of internet fame. If the parking lot is so far away, why does your boss expect you to walk the distance to work? When your employees support your idea, you'll get rid of this stupid policy sooner. Security will refuse to spend all their time transporting people, and in general I think staff should park closer for their safety. Whoever started writing fines to employees should be fired. The company should also be concerned about the comfort of its employees. Subscribe, click the like button if you want to support the channel. Thanks for watching.